Hello, BookTube. I'm here to do a Friday Reads. It's actually very early Saturday morning. I think it's around 1 a.m. that I'm recording this, but I'm going to put it up immediately. And I just sort of been late with it. It's been I've been feeling better, but today was a bit rough, so I needed a few naps here or there. And I've also had a very good week reading. I started out continuing with Sense and Sensibility. This is really taking me forever, and I still got about 100, well, less than 100 pages. I think about 80 pages left, which normally should just take me a few hours, but it's just. But I've put it on hold. I read a little bit of that over the weekend and Monday, and then I started with New World's November and Howl for the Holidays. So for the most part, this month is going to be science fiction, and I've had good reading for that. I started out on Tuesday and read Arthur C. Clarke's A Childhood's End. I will do a video separately on that, so I'm not going to talk too much about it. It is a reread, and I still enjoy it, and I really enjoy it, but there are issues that I have with it, with Arthur C. Clarke in general, I think. But it's still a fabulous story. It's a sort of almost like an alien invasion type, but a passive invasion, and sort of humanity going to the next level, I suppose, as well of evolution. And then what did I do next? And then I decided to read, because the first week is terrestrial, and I'm going to stretch this week because it started on Tuesday the 1st, so I'm going to go until Monday, so it gives me a little extra time. And I reread Goblin Reservation. I won't talk too much about it. I'll do a sort of wrap up, and I'll do a few talks about this, but it's always a pleasure to reread this. It's just fabulous. It has some humor. It's sort of a mix of there's a bit of fantasy, folklore in it, and literally goblins. And as you can see, a dragon on the cover. Um, so yeah, so it was a very enjoyable read. So I read that on Wednesday, um, and then third. Well, just now, yeah, I just finished reading this evening. This took me a little longer. I should be halfway through my next book at the moment, but I'm not. Flesh by Philip Jose Farmer, and it's a weird cultish. It's set in 29th century, and there's sort of primitive cults. Humanity has de-evolved in some ways, at least society wise. Over the 800-year period that these astronauts come back in a time dilation type thing. They've been away for a long, not so much time dilation, but they were in suspended animation, going to other planets. It's very interesting. It is a rewrite of Philip Jose Farmer, late 60s. So this version I don't think I had read. I think I read the original version probably in the magazine. While I was reading this, I was thinking this seems a little more. There's more to it than I remember, and it was quite interesting because when I looked that up and found that while I was reading it, I was sort of thinking, he's got stuff in here about primitive cults and sex cults, fertility cults. That reminds me of when I read. I've never read the full Golden Bough, but I've read the abridged version, and it reminded me of that. And then I find somebody else said the same thing, so I go, I'm on the right track, I think. But yeah, no, it was very interesting, and it's got adult themes. For the time they call it getting a shadow on my face. Explicit sexuality in it. For today, it's pretty tame, but it's still in there. Um, And then I also read some short stories. I read Hal Clement's first, second, and I think fourth story. I'm trying to read the short stories in order, but I read the first short story, Proof, which was published in Astounding in 1942, and then I sort of just lost the name here of the second story, Impediment, and I read that out of The Best of Hal Clement, and this is for Hal for the Holidays. And the first story had to do, I'll go into more detail, but it had to do with sort of beings that are aliens that sort of live on and in the sun. But also there's a scene with the Earth, for that's Proof. Impediment are aliens, and it's from more or less the alien point of view, to a certain extent, that have landed on Earth and need help. And it's very interesting because it's sort of the twist, in the sense of usually humans are on another planet, but this is aliens on Earth needing help. So I found it quite interesting. And because I read, as I say, I'll go into more detail about this when I do my Childhood's End video. And I was thinking of more the film, The Day the Earth Stood Still, Robert Wise, 1951, with Michael Rene, Patricia Neal, Gort the robot. Most people know it, and I'm not even gonna, in the same breath, mention the horrible remake. But anyway, it's based on a 1940 story by Harry Bates. My memory is bad. Yeah, Harry Bates, called Farewell the Master. And I know that I've read the story before, and I knew it was very different from the film, but I couldn't remember quite so much, so I wanted to refresh my mind. So I read it out of here. The famous science fiction stories. It's the original title is Adventures in Time and Space, edited by Raymond J. Healy and J. Francis McComas. Francis McComas, he was one of the co-editors of the first several years of the magazine of fantasy and science fiction. I always get that about front. So, but anyway, this was originally published in 1946. This is 1957, the Modern Library edition, and it's a rough copy, but I'm very pleased to have it. It's one of my favorite anthologies. So yeah, so I was able to read that, and I'll talk a little more about those things, more about the movie, I think, because I think it warrants, actually, because one of the prompts or extra things are to read a story and then look at it in a different medium. So I think I might do a sort of story to movie, a very brief one, regarding the differences between the Farewell to the Master and the film version. And it's just again gone from my mind. I'm sorry, I'm a bit tired, and it's this COVID thing where I just can't connect sort of words to my tongue. But anyway, so yeah, and also I read Clifford Simak's 1980 Hugo and Nebula Award winning short story / novella, Grotto of the Dancing Deer, and I read that out of this volume, that is the complete short fiction of Clifford Simak, volume 4, edited by David W. Dixon. I really enjoyed that, and that sort of fit in with the archaeology aspect, sort of. And again, I'll talk a little more about that in my in my wrap-up video for the first week of New World's November. But just briefly, it's just a story. It's set, and it's got to do with immortality and an archaeologist, exploring and documenting cave paintings. Yeah, so that's the reading that I've done this week, and actually I'm very, very pleased with it, even though today was a bit of a slump, because these novels are short. They're under 200 pages, so I can just about do one a day with these at the moment. I normally could do more if I was at peak condition. I'd be and the time that I have now, oh God, that would be so wonderful. I'd be spending 20 hours a day probably reading, which wouldn't be good. But yeah, so for next week, or this coming week for the Friday Reads, I'm going to start tonight Hal Clement's Needle. And this was published in 1950, 4950. And it's set on Earth, alien aliens visiting Earth. And then as soon as I finish that one, I am going to read the sequel, Through the Eye of the Needle. And I haven't quite decided what else I'm going to read, but I do. Well, actually, there's a couple things I know. I'm going to be reading Robert Silverberg's Across a Billion Years, and that was thankful that I was reminded of this, because I've read it before, by Chris at Unlimited Reads, I think it is. I'll link his channel down below. And this is sort of archaeology again. It's just comes in under the 250 page mark, but I'm be very happy to read that again. So, and then I'm going to add a few other ones, and I'm going to add definitely Clifford Simak, but it has to be sort of off Earth for this. So I'm going to either read Special Deliverance, which was 1980. No, not 1980, was it? 82. 1982. Or go right back to 1939. Not the original, but this is sort of a bit of a revised. 1939, this was written. But he revised it in 1950 for Gnome Press. It's Cosmic Engineers. So, and I'll be reading one or two more Hal Clement, and I'm not sure whether it's going to be Ocean on Top, Cycle of Fire, or possibly, what's the other one here? Condition Critical, possibly. So I'll be reading some of those, but also some short stories as well. Continue on with Hal Clement short stories, and at least another Simak short story. And also, this is still part of the first week of New World's November, and I'm going to read Ted Chiang's, and probably do this on Sunday. Ted Chiang, what's the title of it here? Story of Your Life. I've never read anything by him before. It comes highly recommended, and this was gifted to me, so I'm going to dig into it, and probably more if I really like it. So yeah, and I think that's sort of it. I think sort of the plans for this coming week. So if I can get like basically over a 7-day period, if I can get 5 novels in, these short novels, and a bunch of short stories, like a short story a day, more or less, I will be happy. And the reading will be going well. I'll be getting more medication, because I couldn't think of what it was before. Folic acid, because I'm becoming anemic again. because of the COVID, and also it's affected my thyroid gland. COVID's the gift that keeps on giving, as I always say. And also, too, good news is I'm now past 1,500 subscribers, so I'm very pleased, and thank you everybody who's subscribed. And I will be doing a Q&A, not this Wednesday. I'll put up a notice for this in the next day or two. Let's see here, not the 9th, the 16th. Yes, the 16th. It'll be part of Mark and our live on Wednesday evening. At least that's what we'll aim for. And he'll ask me the questions like I did for him when he hit his sort of milestone. So yeah, thank you very much everybody and new subscribers. I'm hoping to get back into the saddle and doing more videos. I have quite a bit of stuff that I got to get back doing that I have sort of series that are ongoing. But while I was having troubles for the month of October, actually last couple months, but definitely October, then I hope to get back on track shortly. Thank you, BookTube.